June 4, 1942. Japanese forces start their operation to occupy Midway Island. A surprise attack was key to the operation's success. However, Commander-in-Chief for Pacific Ocean Areas, Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, began preparations to defend Midway several months previously, basing his decision on intelligence data. While Japanese forces were approaching Midway from the east, two U.S. fleets were heading to their assembly point, Point Luck. On June 4, several minutes before Midway radar alerted of the incoming attack, PBY pilot Lieutenant 80 noticed the Japanese carrier fleet. His message read, 2 carriers and battleships bearing 320 degrees, distance 180, course 135, speed 25 knots. Immediately after his message arrived, the U.S. forces started positioning themselves for the attack. Japanese fleet outnumbered the U.S. forces, so fleet commanders Fletcher and Spruance agreed it was crucial to launch an all-out attack as soon as possible.
Bombers and fighters that were supposed to provide cover. I thought we were supposed to fly together. Communications were lost. We have to fly on our own. or was that just luck? Time will tell.
Preparations for a counterstrike against the enemy had continued on board our 4 carriers throughout the enemy torpedo attacks. One after another, planes were hoisted from the hangar and quickly arranged on the flight deck. There was no time to lose. At 10:20, Admiral Nagumo gave the order to launch when ready. On Akagi's flight deck, all planes were in position with engines warming up. The big ship began to turn into the wind. Within 5 minutes, all her planes would be launched. 5 minutes. Who would have dreamed that the tide of battle would shift completely in that brief interval of time? Captain Mitsuo Fuchida, IJN Akagi. Despite heavy losses, the morning attack was a success. 3 Japanese carriers were destroyed. However, the Japanese command still had Hiryu at its disposal. Planes were launched from its deck to start a counterattack. Both Japanese counterstrikes hit the same aircraft carrier. Although Yorktown was dead in the water, both TF-16 carriers remained undamaged. While the second wave of the Yorktown attack was heading to Hiryu, Enterprise and Hornet were getting ready to deliver a final blow to the Japanese carrier fleet. After the earlier attack against Enterprise, only 24 planes were able to strike the enemy.
Flying without cover again? We suffered heavy losses in the battle this morning, and Yorktown was badly damaged. They need the fighters to safeguard the fleet. We will have to fly alone. We did it once already. I just hope we can pull it off one more time. Target the carrier and launch the attack. I saw it burning. Yeah, then it's done for.
Through the skill and devotion to serve for the armed forces of all branches in the Midway area, our citizens can now rejoice that a momentous victory is in the making. Admiral Chester Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief, Pacific Ocean Areas, June 6, 1942. They had no right to win, yet they did. And in doing so, they changed the course of the war. Even against the greatest of odds, there is something in the human spirit, a magic blend of skill, faith, and valor that can lift men from certain defeat to incredible victory. Memorial Battle of Midway.
The Battle of Midway cost the Japanese dearly. All 4 aircraft carriers of the Japanese 1st Carrier Striking Force were lost. Hiryu, Kaga, Soryu, Akagi, nearly 250 aircraft, and more than 3,000 naval personnel, including many experienced Japanese pilots, were lost. The Americans lost the aircraft carrier Yorktown and 307 men. Altogether, the Americans launched 10 attack waves against the Japanese fleet. The first 8 were unsuccessful, and the last 2 brought an overwhelming victory. This battle marked the end of the first phase of the war. The Japanese lost their aircraft carrier superiority and would never again dominate the Pacific. Early in the war, they had 10 carriers to the American 3, forcing the U.S. Navy to adopt a defensive strategy, while 3 more carriers were being transferred from the Atlantic. This had allowed the Japanese to operate at will. In the meantime, the Japanese continued with their attacks on the Solomon Islands and New Guinea. They had already constructed a new floatplane base in Tulagi and started building an airfield at Guadalcanal. By July of 1942, Australian troops, fighting in the Kokoda Track campaign, successfully repelled the Japanese attack in New Guinea. If allowed to complete the airbase on Guadalcanal, the Japanese would turn the island into a powerful outpost that would hinder all U.S. operations in a wide area. Operation Watchtower was launched to stop the Japanese plans. 75 warships and nearly 3,000 Marines were sent to the island. They were opposed by only 900 Japanese troops. And while the Americans had good intelligence on the Japanese forces on the island, the other side did not even suspect that an invasion was imminent.